Okay, you guys asked about it. Some of you even found me by searching for it, but now we are going to figure it out. We are going to have the definitive, or at least somewhat definitive, idea. Can Affinity Publisher handle itself against Adobe InDesign? Let's go. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dave Conrad. I'm an artist designer based in Southern California, and we should talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room, of course, being my hair. What is going on up here? COVID, no barbers. California has opened some of that up. People are allowing or are able to go get their hair cut, but I have not yet because number one, COVID's spiking again and I'm a little bit gun shy. Number two, I don't know, I'm gonna grow it out. Let's see how it goes. You didn't really care about that much, but I don't know, I felt like I should address it. Anyway, so what we're here to talk about is Affinity Publisher, which is Affinity's multi-page platform for, say, building magazines, building catalogs, building books, whatever it is that you do multi-pages of. This program, Affinity Publisher, is the one that changed everything for me. There was the time when Affinity Designer existed, but I didn't jump in. Then there was the time when Affinity Photo came around, and I still didn't jump in because I was like, well, I'm not gonna switch platforms yet because they don't have the multi-page option. That's kind of my background, so I wanted to have some sort of program that still did multi-page layout, and the only one that I knew how to use, the only one that I was willing to use at the time was Adobe InDesign, and if I'm gonna have Adobe InDesign, I might as well have the whole Adobe suite. But Affinity answered the call and they created Affinity Publisher, and I said, well, let's take a look. Let's have a look-see and see if it even compares. And now you know where I stand on Affinity. Because I have switched completely, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about Affinity Publisher right now as it compares to Adobe InDesign. This isn't gonna be super comprehensive. It's not gonna be one of those things where I say, well, I like this in Affinity and I like that in Adobe InDesign. It's more of just like, hey, does it do what I need it to do? Does it do what you need it to do? Before we get into this, I just want to give you a really quick, kind of basic rundown. If you're not 100% familiar with what Affinity Publisher is, basically, if you were building a magazine, building a book, building any kind of multi-page document, you probably want to do it either in Affinity Publisher or in Adobe InDesign or something like that. Like Quark Express I think still exists, even though nobody probably uses it anymore. Back when I first got into design, that was the program of record. If you wanted to build multi-page documents, then you did them in Quark Express. You can't build multi-page documents in Photoshop. You can sort of do it in Adobe Illustrator, but it really is more efficient to do it in a program like Quark Express, like Adobe InDesign, like Affinity Publisher. Now, a little bit of background on me so you understand why I have so much knowledge in this topic. I spent majority of my design career working as a magazine designer. I would build 300-page layouts every single month, sometimes more, depending on if I had to work on multiple magazines at a single time. I haven't built a magazine or any kind of large document within Affinity Publisher yet. I just haven't had the need, but I have decided to work on my next book project, which is a personal project, which is like a content marketing playbook that allows people to kind of organize the stuff they're doing for the business, for their content marketing, for their whatever content they're making. And it was going to show you that, but it's turning out to be a much larger project, and it would take me about 14 hours of recorded video to show it to you, and that really isn't going to do any good. So we're going to do this differently. We're going to do this a little bit different so that it makes more sense for you here. The beauty of Affinity Publisher is that it works really very much kind of sort of similar to Adobe InDesign, as did Adobe InDesign to Quark Express when it first came out. The transition from Quark Express to Adobe InDesign was pretty smooth, especially if you had been using Adobe products like Illustrator and Photoshop. And because products like Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo all kind of have very similar kind of layouts and workflow to the Adobe products, transitioning to Affinity Publisher is going to be, I don't know how to snap very well. It's gonna be easy, but don't take my word for it. Let me show you. I'm pointing to the screen, right there. Look this way. Now. So as I said before, I'm not gonna show you that big multi-page document that I already had established, so we're gonna go ahead and create a brand new document. There's a couple of ways I could do this. I could do this as unfacing pages, which means like it's individual pages that you see just like if you had sheets of paper. What I'm gonna do for our purposes is just facing pages, because this is how I would build something if I was building a magazine. When you see this, like if I just pick, like say, an even number, what's gonna happen is that first page, that number one page, is gonna start out by itself, and then every other page is gonna flow from there. So I'm just gonna stick with 5 because I'm only gonna work on one of the big layouts, one of the spread layouts. You have these presets up here, just like you do in any of the Adobe products. And the same thing in any of the Affinity products. And you got print, you got press ready, you got photo, web, and all that. When you go to the print one, you'll see that most of them are in these European sizes. And yeah, that's not, you know, awesome because being an American, but whatever, you know, I mean, it's really not that big a deal. You can always just come over here, which is what I do anyway. Come over here and type in your inches, 8.5 by 11, which is what's standard, DPI 300, because if we're doing a print project, that's what we need. Change this to where's the inches? Change that to inches. You could change it to pixels. You can change it. You can change your orientation if you want between portrait and landscape. This one's interesting. If you want to have your images be linked to, which is usually the case for most of these documents, that way it keeps your file size down really low. Essentially, you're just linking to your photos, and what you see on the screen is more of a FPO, for position only is what that term is called. That way you're not bogging down your system. But if you want to have them embedded, you can. I don't recommend this if you're doing large documents, because it's just going to be a dog by the time you're finished. Got a default master, which is these master pages that will appear right up here in this left corner. Facing pages, like I was talking about, arranged horizontally. This is how they just how they justify themselves up here in this particular palette. CMYK for print. You can be RGB if that's what you're doing, like if you wanted to do web page design, or grayscale if you were doing a grayscale layout. That's totally up to you. We're just going to say CMYK for now. Margins, we're going to go ahead and do 1 all the way around, and bleed is, you know, whatever bleeds off the page. Just going to create this, and like I said, you're seeing only one page right now, but the layout here is that's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. This is how books work, folks. Square this up. Now, if you're not familiar with master pages, essentially, if you think about this, this is a template. So if I were to design something here in Master A, I am your, that's big. That's too big. Don't know why I did that. Whatever. If I was to do this, right, and then apply this master to this one, well, you can already see it. It's already applied to here and to here and to here. But if I went and did duplicate this, creates a master, and I change this one to I am your servant, and why is it automatically capitalizing? I don't know. That's probably a preference thing. I applied it to this one down here, just drag and drop it there. Or if I said, I can always go here, right click, apply to, where is it? Apply master to pages. There we go. And then I can pick current spread. Yeah, current spread. Okay. There's the master. There's the servant. Go here. Master. Master. Oh, why didn't it work? See, it didn't work. I'm just going to drop it. Servant. Smasher. Again, you can apply the whole spread. There you go. Obviously, just by doing that, you can see, like, I can apply half to one side and half to the other. Things you know. This is the same operation, whether it's Publisher, whether it's InDesign, or even if you were still like old guy using Quark Express. This is the most important thing when it comes to the multi-page layout. This is what you need. The only other thing that I consider to be one of the most important things would be obviously the type tools, your characters, your paragraphs, and your text styles. This right here. This layout is a little bit different than if you were to work this in Adobe InDesign, because they have a separate palette for paragraph styles, as well as one for character styles, as well as one for object styles. We could do a whole video about that whole thing some other time, but essentially, if I want to apply certain amounts of characteristics to anything, whether it's a full paragraph of text or it's a singular item or a singular word, then I can do that with these styles. Now here are these already set up styles that they've just imported. I would probably, I haven't done this yet, but I would probably get rid of all of these and bring in a new set specifically for each document. Or basically just erase everything that isn't body or no style and then start from scratch. Because most of these, I mean, I guess I could keep them, because these are kind of standard book-oriented things. You can keep these if you want, and then just adjust them as you want, because you can, like, I can just click on here and click emphasis, table body. You can see it just changes things. It's not so, you can see it got really, look at how small it got. Right like that. Anyway, so that is text styles. It is in one place as opposed to, actually, now that I think about that, let me verify something. Let's go here to the studio. This is where most of your palettes are at. Paragraph, text styles, yeah. So text styles covers everything. Paragraph and character and all that. I haven't dove deep into that yet, so I can't explain it, but we'll get to that another time. Now your tools. You got your pointer tool. You got your node tool, which is essentially, if you can imagine, so this moves the whole thing, right? You grab things. If it's not locked, why is it locked? It's locked. Why is it locked? Oh, because it's on the master. Duh, Dave. It's on the master. Okay, so this moves the whole thing. You can move size that, right? Or you can move nodes and then, you know, kind of click things. But it's text, so if it was like, say, let's say this, I'm going to draw a little box here, and then I'm going to go to the node, and then I'm going to click. Well, I thought that's what I was going to do. Well, it should do that, but I think maybe it's because I got to convert it to something else. Let's delete that. Oh, I guess you can turn any box into a text box, just like you can in Adobe InDesign. Text box, if you want to create a box of text. And if you don't want to type out a whole block of text. If you don't want to type out a whole block of text yourself, you go up here to text, and I believe it's insert filler text, just like that. Just like that. You can also obviously do that in Adobe InDesign too. Lorem ipsum is your friend. This is for, you know, these things. What do you call these? Tables? These are for tables. Those are kind of cool. And you can add, and I have not worked with them much, but it's cool that you have them right there. There is this, which is just independent type. This is the same thing. It operates exactly the same as it does in Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. Pen tool allows you to draw vector-based shapes. And you can use these, you can fill them, like, let's see, let's go Command I don't know, trying to remember how you put something there. Command D, I don't remember. You can fill, it's been a while. You can fill this with an image, and then it'll be that shape. And again, you can do the same thing in Adobe InDesign. And you have your vector shapes, and this is actually something that carries over from Designer, carries over from Photo, and something that Adobe does not have. You have to build these things yourself in Illustrator. You have to build these things yourself in Adobe InDesign, and sometimes they take, they're a little bit more difficult, like building that crescent tool or that cog. Come on, that cog, you tell me that would be easy to build in Illustrator when I could just have it sitting around like just like that? Yeah, no. No, that's one of the best things about Affinity that I like, is having those little tools like that. And of course you can create multiples on top of multiples and whatnot. Of course you've got your shapes, basic shapes, square and circle, or rectangular and circle, and then image box. Find a photo of one of my pieces of art or something and bring that in, and I can do it like that. Boom. This is a mess. Don't mind the layout. We're not really trying to build anything in particular here. Crop tool, if I wanted to recrop things, like say I wanted to recrop this, I could. Crop tool. But I could also do that same thing. I believe I could also do that same thing, or maybe not. Maybe it's this tool, this tool. Oh man, this node tool is really going to make me a liar today. I'm going to have to look and see what the difference is between these two tools, because it's really kind of driving me nuts that I thought it was something and it's not the thing that I thought it was. Gradient tool, what do they call it? They call it a fill tool, right? See, I just kind of filled that. I can't get it to do anything. I think it's because I don't have enough boxes here. Let's see, let's do a cog, or let's do a rectangle. See, now if I fill that, but if I change the color, right, and then I fill, I think there's a gradient. You can kind of see a gradient going on in there. This is the transparency tool. That way it's kind of a gradient, but then it's transparent, because if I then turn this and bring it up here, then it's transparent. An eyedropper is pretty simple. Hand, if you want to move the whole thing around, but you know, I've got a magic mouse. Yeah, it's kind of doing it. There we go. There we go, finally get it. My magic mouse allows me to do that. I don't need to use that hand tool. If you don't have a magic mouse, then maybe you will. And magnifying glass, of course. The palettes here, color palette, swatch palette, stroke palette, those are all pretty standard. In fact, this is almost identical to any other Affinity product, and it's almost identical to any other Adobe product. Layers. This is one thing that operates a little bit differently in Actually, it operates a lot differently. It operates a lot differently in Affinity than it does in InDesign, because InDesign you have to create different layers and then you move things around in those different layers. Very similar to what you would do in Adobe Illustrator. But when I'm working here right now, every time I create something new, I'm just going to bring in another circle, it automatically creates a new layer. Anytime I do something new, creates a new layer, creates a new layer. And I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. The reason is because I operate in a little bit different way because of my experience in Adobe InDesign, and this is unusual to me. But what I have decided is that what I'm doing for the time being is just grabbing these different elements like this when I have them and then grouping them, and that way they're not like I can move them around in different places and just move things in. It's just a matter of working different in that respect. The thing is, with Adobe InDesign, I didn't use layers nearly as much as I do in, say, like Photoshop or Affinity Photo. I used them mostly just to kind of like move, have certain things in certain places, and then if I wanted to like unsee them or like unclick them so that they couldn't be seen, then I could do that. Just a different workflow. And I don't think it's going to be terribly disruptive, but we'll find out as I'm working on this other big project. You got your character settings, your paragraph settings, and then text styles wherever I did with them. Settings right here, your justification, your jabs, all this other stuff. If you wanted to do flow, like text flow between text documents, like say if you wanted to flow text from here to here, you can by, let's see, click on this one and you click and then click to that one. And if I just flowed, let's go back here and let's insert filler text, it just automatically flowed. Same thing in InDesign, very similar. And then way down here, transform navigator history. I haven't really adjusted my palettes to work more functionally for me yet. And everything else is very Affinity-like. You have all of these certain settings up here. Okay, stop! This right here is one of the most significant things that makes Affinity Publisher great. Right now, I am in the publisher persona, meaning I'm working within Publisher and doing my thing. Instead of me having to jump over to Affinity Designer or Affinity Photo, all I have to do is change the persona. Now this is a very unique thing to Affinity products. It's a little bit different than the other products. Like Affinity Designer has like multiple little things that you can jump between, and Photo is the same way, has all these different things. So all I have to do is come over here, jump over to the designer persona, and I can just start crafting exactly like I would in Affinity Designer. Or if I want to go into the photo persona, then I just come over here and it's the exact same thing. Just allows me to bring in these different elements without having to jump between the programs. All I have to do is click. I'm still not out of that document. You can see the document is still active, and I can bring in, let's see, do it. I know there's a way to do it. Where is it? So you got all my layers, stock. So if I just wanted to say, let's bring in an image, let's say dogs. Because I like dogs, I don't know why it's all caps. And bring this guy in, I understand. And bring this guy in, just like that. Boom, now I got a dog picture. Now I got a dog picture for my layout. It's a little big, now I got a layout. Now I got a dog picture in my layout. You know what's funny? Like, even though this design is like super crazy and all over the place, it's like totally like in line with how some of the design stuff is going these days. It's like, now I know how these kids are doing it with these crazy layouts, basically pooping on a page. And there you go. Good design. I kid. So this is pretty much it. Everything that I've experienced in Affinity Publisher is almost line for line, dot for dot, action for action, similar to Adobe InDesign. Now, Adobe InDesign is a pretty robust program now, and it can do some amazing stuff, especially if you're working in large groups, you're working with big teams like we were on the magazines. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with the interactive. It has all these other integrations with the Adobe products that you can do different things, and it's cool if you work in those environments. But if you are somebody who works for yourself or has a really small team and you don't really need all those integrations, this program is going to do everything you need. You could build an entire 500-page magazine, 1,000-page book, whatever you want. You could build it in this, no problem. Let's say I want to create this, and this was a book, and I just go export, right? And export out is all of these things. The most important one for us, probably PDF. Sure, I can do PNG. That's going to be a lot of PNG pages. A JPEG, same, GIF, TIFF, whatever. GIF, TIFF. PSD. I can export this whole thing and bring it into a Photoshop document if I wanted to. Not sure why you would. I could do everything in an SVG and it would be weird, but yeah, you could. It's possible. EPS, TGA, I don't even know what any of these go for. Obviously the PDF is the most important one. I want to address what I know is one of the questions I'm gonna get. But can you import InDesign documents? No, you cannot import InDesign documents. You cannot take an InDesign document and bring it in here. But you can take an InDesign PDF, a PDF you created from a document in InDesign, and bring it in here, and it will be editable. I've done it, I've seen it, it works. Is it perfect? I don't know. I didn't dive deep, but you can bring in a PDF and it will be editable. You can bring in a layered Photoshop document into here and it will be editable. Short story is, will Affinity Publisher hang with Adobe InDesign? And my answer to that is, I'm pretty sure it will. Pretty sure that anybody who uses this program is gonna be happy with it. I haven't built anything really big yet, so I can't say how it handles large projects, because sometimes a large project on a machine might get bogged down if it's 120 pages and you've got all these images and you got all these different things, elements pulling in. I don't know how that's gonna work yet. I will tell you more how I feel about that in the future once I finish my first multi-page document. But what's really truly important is that it does the job. From what I can tell, there is absolutely nothing about Affinity Publisher that lacks. There's nothing about Affinity Publisher that shows me that it cannot do the work. I would rely on this program, no problem. Now, again, if I do get to that point and I feel like it's a RAM hog, we'll talk about that. I haven't been there yet, I can't say that, but for now, it seems to work. Now in the future, I will go into the details about how to operate in these places, specifically how to work more efficiently with masters. We'll also go into more of the stuff on text styles and characters and paragraphs, because that's important. I'm not 100% sure if this has object styles, which is what they're called in Adobe InDesign. There might be something like that. I have to do my research on that. I personally didn't use them that much back in Adobe InDesign, but I did do a video about that. If you want to go see that, if you are an Adobe user and you want to see my take on object styles, go right there. I don't know if that's possible here. My guess is it is, but I don't know yet. Can't say for sure. Talk about these things. We'll do little 101 episodes and I'll be learning right alongside you. Now, if you're one of these people that are on the fence, or you're one of these people that might be doubting it at all, I recommend that you just go check it out. It's a free trial for a time period, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's still under the sale program. It might only through July, I don't know. I don't know exactly when, but they're essentially only charging half price for it. It's a deal at $50. And a lot of people will discount that just because it's $50. It can't be nearly the quality of Adobe InDesign if it's only $50. I'm telling you, you're wrong. But now, if I'm not mistaken, it's even half that. 25 bucks, you could have yourself a secondary program where you could work on this and just play with it and experiment. And even, I mean, if you say, no, this sucks, it's only 25 bucks out of your pocket. But on top of that, they have a free trial. Go test it for yourself. Go bring in a document from InDesign. Go bring a PDF. Go bring it in and see what you think, because you might be impressed. I was impressed. For somebody who is a dyed-in-the-wool Adobe InDesign user, I was impressed. And Affinity, if you're watching, please give me an affiliate link. They don't have an affiliate program. Send me money. No, I'm just kidding. I would say these things regardless. I obviously am saying these things regardless because they're not paying me a dime. You know, if they want to throw some money at me, I mean, I'll take it. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on Affinity Publisher. I hope you really appreciated that. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Go down to the comments and leave a comment and ask me a question, and I will do my best to answer it. And while you're down there, make sure you hit that like button, and also go over there and hit that little red subscribe button. And when you're there, go hit that little bell that's right next to that so you never miss a thing. And then there's the share button right there too. Go share that with all your homies. In the meantime, I'm gonna go take this and upload it on Instagram and become a, instant hit, because this is super fantastic and Instagram is gonna love this stuff. I kid. That's it, I'm out. Remember folks, be good today, be even better tomorrow. See ya. That was fun. Long, but fun.